Hey, this is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. Well, health is nothing more than a numbers game, right? I mean, what's your blood glucose level, what your blood pressure is, what's your A1C at any given moment, blah, 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 blah. No, not really. When you really think about it, health is a long-term ball game. If you talk about, heart health and how long it takes to develop heart disease, we're talking about decades. When you're talking about, dying of cancer, that did not happen last week. It is something that happened over time. And it takes years for these type of things to happen. Any type of chronic disease, for the most part, are long-term prospects based on lots of decisions that you make over time. And one of the problems that I think too many of us get into because we're into the numbers game and we're tracking things, and if you're like most folks, it's like, hey, I can't wait to get my annual blood work done because I want to see what all these different numbers are. But remember what they are. They're just a snapshot in time of that particular moment when you had that blood work done. It's not a real picture of your overall long-term health. It's one of the reasons why I like continuous glucose monitors, because they give you an average of your blood glucose over 2 weeks, which is really important because I noticed when I was wearing it that mine would shoot up to really high levels when I was exercising, even in a fasted state. And it took me a little while to figure out exactly what was going on because, I didn't have any food and I didn't have any carbs. Why is my blood glucose so high? Well, because it's coming out of the muscles when you're exercising, particularly when you're fasted. Your body needs energy, and it will take the stuff that it's been storing in your blood glucose or in your muscles and put it in your bloodstream when you're exercising, when it needs it. That's the way you're designed. And, it's supposed to work that way. Your blood pressure, when they've done studies of people that, when they check their blood pressures, and the people that were doing really intense exercise, they were doing weightlifting and stuff like that, they were skyrocketing. I mean, well over 200 during intense exercise, and that's okay during that particular time. But when it's having it chronically elevated, that's difficult, to show. And you can't monitor all the time without some very expensive equipment. But what I'm trying to point out is that when you're checking your blood pressure, it's not the number at that particular moment, but when you check it several times at different places during the course of a week and you kind of look at those averages, that's what you're really looking for and blood glucose is the same way. That's what CGMs do such a great job of doing, is tracking that type of number. And the same thing really affects your diet. A lot of people that are into low carb, probably at some point watching some videos and influencers talking about how we need to have 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, blah, 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 every single day. And frankly, that's not true. Because look, some days I fast. I'm either not feeling well or I make a deliberate decision not to eat for a certain period of time, and that is going to throw off my numbers. For the most part, I know what I'm going to eat on any given day. I usually only eat 2 meals a day. One of them's got 4 eggs and about a half pound of meat, and the other meal's got about a pound or so of meat. And that's pretty much what I eat on a regular basis. But look, there's some days, once a week or so, I'll throw in some liver. A couple of times a week, I throw in a can of, I have sardines, and some fish, etc. It's not perfect. I'm not always eating the same thing, but for the most part, I know what I'm eating. So when I track my meals every now and then, just to check to see if I'm getting enough protein, I look at it from a weekly perspective, not from a daily perspective, because, everybody's numbers are going to vary. And I bring this up because I remember back when I was really into the calories in, calories out model, and I would play subtle games with myself Like I'd go to the gym and I'd be on the treadmill and it said that I burned 1,000 calories. And then I'd get a chance to eat a cookie and I'd realize, hey, yeah, I can afford a cookie because I was on the treadmill and I got that extra 1,000 calories today, so I've got a little bit more margin for it. And frankly, that's the wrong attitude. If you look at each day as a separate thing and that you need to get your RDA of so many vitamins and minerals and protein on any given day and not like from a weekly perspective, you're going to really throw those numbers off. And it's about the equivalent of you driving your car. When you're on the highway, your range of one tank of gas may be 400 miles. But when you're driving to the city, it's only 300 miles. Your body is kind of the same way. It depends on what's going on at any given time. Sometimes you're under more stress. When you reduce the amount of calories, you actually quit fidgeting as much. Your basal metabolic rate will decrease when you have fewer calories in your system. If you want to get really calm, don't eat, and your body will quit fidgeting quite as much, because that's, your body kind of works at a set point. It wants to try to keep its weight pretty constant. So realize that this is not, health is not completely numbers. There's not, these little snapshots in time are not a complete picture of your overall health. That, they're snapshots of that particular moment, but not where you are all the time. And that's why you really want to, if you're going to monitor certain things, get a CGM and utilize it for a couple of weeks to get an average of your blood glucose. When you're checking your blood pressure, check it correctly, but check it several times in different times during the week. If you're only doing it first thing in the morning, you're not getting a real picture of where your blood pressure is. If it's chronically elevated, it may be, in the afternoon, it may be sky high because of the stresses of the day. So you don't know until you really take a look at things over time. And when you track them over time, and it's really cool that we live in a day and age when so much of this information can be tracked on your smartphone pretty darn easily. When you look at, how many steps did you take, don't do it just strictly by the day, but look at it over a week, and how much exercise you get during the week is much more important than how much you get during any given day. And what you're eating over the course of a week is much more important than just what you ate today, because that varies so much. So remember, health is a long-term thing. And if you're going to track different metrics, track them over time, not on a daily basis. And that will give you the best results long term. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore, who tries to put out a couple messages each week. If you like this message, please hit like and subscribe. Join this channel of other like-minded people. I try to put out a couple messages each week. I will talk to you again soon.